All right. We need to stop overcomplicating this whole ketogenic diet thing. It's getting ridiculous. The ketogenic diet does not have to be incredibly complicated. There are a few basic things that you need to know to start a ketogenic diet. So understanding what macronutrients are, protein, fat, and carbohydrate being energy sources, protein, which can be oxidized for energy and turned into energy sources, is not a macronutrient that's there for an energy source. Protein is there to rebuild and repair lean muscle tissue. You need it to create human growth hormone. You need it for loads of physiological processes and hormones in the body. Protein's a building block that is required. When you're making ketogenic meals on a ketogenic diet for fat loss, protein is by far the most important macro to hit. That is an opinion that many people who are just repeating crap that they've heard on the internet because they think it sounds cool and they think it sounds right, many people will attack me for it. But I'll say it again, and I got no shame in saying it. Protein's the most important macro to hit on a ketogenic diet for fat loss. You can look at the work of Stephen Finney and Jeff Volek. You can look at their books, and they say the same thing. Protein is an important macro to hit. You need to make sure you get sufficient protein because if you're trying to burn body fat, a lot of that fat that you're seeing in this 80% fat, you need 80% fat, you need 70% fat. That can come from your body. Look at the work of Volek and Finney. There was a recent, was it Low Carb Down Under, and Stephen Finney is talking in front of this huge crowd in Australia because apparently there's a huge ketogenic diet surge in Australia, and he shows a chart that basically breaks down what I just said, that 80% fat calorically can come from the plate or from your body. So if you're going for maintenance calories, then sure, it might look like 70, 80% fat on your plate. But if you're going for fat loss, you don't need to eat gobs and gobs and gobs of fat. Eating more fat does not make you burn more body fat. Eating more fat can make you burn more fat because you're eating a bunch of dietary fat. So let's stop overcomplicating keto with this nonsense about needing to test your blood glucose every 5 minutes and test your blood ketones after every meal or every time you step on a crack or every time a thought pops in your freaking head. You don't need to measure your blood ketones all the time if your goal is fat loss. If your goal is fat loss, you don't need to spend $20 a day wasting money on these blood ketone strips. Yes, it's interesting to know if you're in ketosis or not, and being in ketosis is obviously very, very helpful for dropping hunger levels, for decreasing inflammation levels. And if you're on a medical ketogenic diet, or if you're a type 2 diabetic or a type 1 diabetic, then of course blood sugar levels and blood ketone levels are relevant. But the average Jane or Joe doing a ketogenic diet are wasting tons of time, energy, and money on these blood glucose strips and worrying about this 80% fat thing. So sufficient protein, and that sufficient protein for individuals will vary depending on context. So depending on the context, your protein may vary. But get sufficient protein. That's the most important macro to hit. Fat is for energy. Carbs are a limit. So for most people, if you stay around 30 grams net carb and under, some people got to go like 20, but most people 30 is enough. 30 grams net carb and under will get you into ketosis. As long as you're not eating astronomical amounts of protein, and I'm talking about like 3 grams per kilogram or like, loads of protein that you don't need, which most people are not doing. People are afraid to eat excess protein, but they don't even define what excess protein is. They just say excess, and they freak you out about it, and they scare you into buying their products or their services. It's really not that complicated. It's not that hard to formulate a ketogenic diet. Usually, I get clients on about 0.8 grams per lean pound of their body mass in protein. Some people prefer less, that's fine. Some people want more, and some people can do fine with more. So, let's stop overcomplicating keto. You don't need to measure your pee. You don't need to measure your urine ketones rather, ever. Those urine strips are just telling you how many ketones you're wasting. Sure, you can know that you're wasting ketones through your urine, but it doesn't mean you're using them in your blood. You don't need to test your ketones after every time you work out or worry that if you work out a little bit, if you lift some weights, if you lift too heavy of a weight, that you're going to go out of ketosis for maybe an hour, you're out of ketosis. Ketosis doesn't guarantee fat loss. You can lose fat without being in ketosis. So these basic things that we need to understand are confusing the heck out of people. If your goal is fat loss, then chasing ketones is not your goal. If your goal is fat loss, having 3.0 on your blood ketones constantly is not required. Anything above 0.5 on that blood glucometer and ketones is ketosis. If you're under 30 grams net carb, chances are you're going to get into ketosis in a few days. So keep it simple. Make nutrient-dense, high-quality meals using quality foods. The protein portion of the plate when you eat out, if you're eating at a restaurant or something, super simple. Order a protein source. Steak, salmon, and a salad. French fries are not a salad. Avoid the starches and stuff like that. They bring you potatoes, don't eat the potatoes. When you're going to eat out, it's not that hard. It's actually the easiest diet to eat out on. Most people can get away with eating out a few times a week. You just order a protein source and get the salad and you'll be fine. So let's stop overcomplicating it for people. Let's stop making it confusing for people. Let's make it simple. You need to form a new baseline habit. You need to form a new foundation of healthy habits to move forward. And those habits are not all dietary habits. You got to love life. What are you going to do when you lose all that weight? What are you going to do when that 100 pounds is off? How are you going to maintain that? This is a whole lifestyle approach that we need to take for fat loss, for optimizing energy levels, and for optimizing productivity and cognition. So let's keep it simple, folks. Simple ketogenic meals that you can go to all the time, it's essential to have those. So anyways, if you're looking for a resource on how to prepare simple, nutrient-dense, low-carbohydrate meals, my wife has put together one of the most extensive, thoughtful, and valuable books out there called the Ketogenic Edge Cookbook, a training manual for low-carb, ketogenic, and paleo cuisine. I had to read that off the teleprompter up there. It's more than just a cookbook. It's a training manual because it teaches you how to formulate meals. It teaches you even how to use spices, spice combinations to bring out different flavors. You can bring out sweet flavors and sweet accents in foods without even adding sweeteners, just by using spices. Cinnamon's a very powerful one. Things like nutmeg can also be used. There's an entire section on how to use spice combinations to bring out flavors in food. There's an entire section on how to use organ meats. There's an entire section on sauces and dips, which can be really helpful because you can prepare them in bulk and have them in your fridge and use them for a variety of applications. So use that resource. Use the vast amount of resources on our website as well, primaledgehealth.com. And the Ketogenic Edge Cookbook is available exclusively at primaledgehealth.com. You're not going to find it anywhere else. It's not on Amazon. It's not anywhere else. We're an independent company, family-run business, and we like to keep it real for you guys. So there it is. Keep the ketogenic diet simple. If you want a simple resource on how to make ketogenic meals, a training guide for a ketogenic diet and for creating your keto kitchen, for creating keto meals consistently, look at the Ketogenic Edge Cookbook on primaledgehealth.com. None of the ingredients, there's none of these like crazy esoteric ingredients that you gotta search in the depths of Mordor to get. Basic ingredients that anybody can source no matter where you live. Basic ingredients. All the recipes have got macros as well, and all the macros are fat loss friendly. We're not gonna tell you eat 300 grams, give you a meal that's got 300 grams of fat in it. Fat loss friendly macros, and all the recipes have got macros. Any recipes that are using dairy, we also give you alternatives and show you how to do it without dairy. But it's very simple. A ketogenic diet is not this esoteric, complex thing that nobody can understand. It's basic. You're making meals based around meats or fish, protein sources, and vegetables. And of course, fat is your energy source. So there you go, guys. Ketogenic diet. Keep it simple. You can find more at primaledgehealth.com and check out my wife's cookbook, the Ketogenic Edge Cookbook, a training manual for low carb, ketogenic, and paleo cuisine, available exclusively at primaledgehealth.com. Let's keep it simple. Let's keep it basic. Ketogenic diet can be done by anyone, anywhere. I'll see you guys next.